What is going on, Big Strong Gamers? It is Ben, and today we are going to be ranking the top 5 tactical rifles within Cold War Zombies. If you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, all that cool nonsense. Speaking of that, Gage, Costella, subscribe to me, and if you do, I'll literally shout you out, the big homie. And plus, if you don't, I'll literally come to your house and smash your fingernails against the wall. Okay? You don't want that, so on the gamers. Let's get it. To start us off, we have the Helvetica, or the Type 63. Now, this isn't necessarily bad, and this just goes for all tactical rifles. They're all good, so if you're just, seeing this and you're saying, wow, it's at number 5, I'm never going to use this, actually try it. It's not too bad. If you're a semi-auto lover, you're going to like this gun. It does have some pretty good damage. The reason why I have it down on this list is there's a little bit better weapons like the DMR when it turns the semi-auto variability, but overall the weapon does have some pretty gnarly stats. I mean, it does have some really good damage. I mean, as you can see with tier 1 pack-a-punch on round 13, you could do over around 2,000 damage just with the headshot alone, and you have about 36 in the magazine, which can actually be increased because, well, this isn't leveled up. None of these guns are leveled up besides, probably like the main 2 or 3, which I'm not gonna spoil, but yeah, literally level 12. This thing ain't leveled up at all, but overall got some really good stats on it. The reload time, absolutely amazing. You have a 2.5 drop mag, but with speed cooler you can drop this down to about 1.7 to 1.8 seconds, so you don't really have to worry all too much in there. Also, it does have a really good rate to fire time, which with about 327 RPM. But the great thing about semi-autos, you could literally just spam it, go boom 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 everywhere. This thing, you could spray fire it. It can make it automatic basically if you have the trigger finger, and if you turn off your PS5 adaptive controllers, those things will get in the way. But the reload, all that good. Maximum ammo on this thing, I mean, 36 on the clip for a regular 30 clip. If you do get some of the other clips, I believe like 40 or 50, you can actually increase it to well over that and get some really good ammo. And one of the great things about this weapon, which I really do like, and this just goes for tactical rifles and all as well, is the range. I mean, this thing doesn't really have a damage drop off when you use this thing. Yeah, it's going to be the same as distance as it is medium. I mean, it is a little not so good up close just because, zombies are swiping you like 20 billion times and they won't give you a break. Having a semi-auto, if you're not fast enough shooting it, it's not going to be that good, which is a little unfortunate. But number 5 spot is the Type 63, understandably. But other than that, gamers, let's get into the 4th weapon. Now, our number 4 spot is the AUG, and if I could describe the AUG with one word, it would be unused. I wouldn't say it's underrated because, not that many people use it, but realistically here, I mean, nobody really uses the gun, but it's not that bad, to be honest. Out of all the tactical rifles, it does place number 4, but it does more so act like a mini M16, which kind of gives it a reason not to use the weapon. I mean, if you like a little bit fast firing on the bursts, this isn't exactly going to compare to the M16 either. I mean, the RPM for this is a little bit slower, at about 850, while the M16 alone is at around 900. So a little bit bigger of a difference. You don't really notice it, but at the same time, you do. The damage, not doing as much either. Everything about this gun, you kind of look at the M16 and you're like, wow, I should just use the M16 instead. And you will. I mean, relatively, you could use any other burst weapon. Even weapons like the KSP, in my opinion, I think they're just a little bit better than the AUG, which makes it a little bit unfortunate because I really do like the AUG, especially from Black Ops 1, where it was fully automatic. If this weapon was fully automatic, it would have made a way better weapon. And personally, I believe it would be one of the better weapons in terms of the submachine gun category. But here we are. I mean, this thing, 3-round burst, not really good. And unfortunately, even if you have this thing pack-a-punched, it's really not that much. I mean, you still have that 3 burst, which is why do I still have a 3 burst? It just doesn't make any sense as to why. The AUG, it could have been better, but that's really about it for this weapon. Now, for our number 3 spot, we have the Demolisher K14, and if you don't realize, this is it's just the M14 realistically. I mean, there's not much of a difference here besides maybe some ammo extra in the clip, more damage, all that good nonsense, but it's a pretty alright one. I mean, it definitely is a lot better than the Type 63, and for a specific reason, this weapon, it has a lot less recoil, and you don't even have to have really attachments on it. It has a way bigger clip. depending on the mag that you have, faster reload. Just overall, if you're going to be using a semi burst, just use this weapon. This one it does the job a lot better. Overall, the damage is higher on this weapon as well. I mean, you do 58 damage with this thing, and then the Type 63 only does about 55, 54. So you know, you're gonna be wanting to use this. And even now, I mean, I don't even have this thing loaded out, kitted up, anything like that. Same thing as the Type 63, and this one is doing better. I mean, the reload time is fairly well. I know I talked about it briefly, but this thing reloads at about the same rate or a little bit faster than the Type 63, dependent on the mag. But honestly, they're pretty identical almost, but you know, just a little select few, you know, disadvantages from another to another. But yeah, I don't know, the headshot multiplier, all that nonsense, it's still relatively the same on this weapon as it is as the Type 63. But personally, I do prefer this one just because a little bit higher damage, and you can shoot it a lot faster. I don't know why, but this one, it feels like you can do it fully automatic. Like if you just see it right now, I'm just sitting here spraying and spraying and spraying and killing all these zombies. And like the Type 63, it's just a little too slow. I don't like the rate of fire, and speaking of that, the rate of fire on this thing is about 360 RPM, which is a little bit higher than the Type 63, which is always nice. But I mean, it's the M14 too. I mean, I guess it gets a little bit of credit there, but I mean, you can sit here and say, well, oh yeah, the Type 63 is better and all this and that, but realistically, you can put either or in each spot. But for me, this weapon has definitely got to be the one that definitely feels a little bit better, and I prefer it a lot more. Something about it, I don't know, just definitely gonna be our number 3 spot. Let's get number 2, baby. For our number 2 spot, we have the Carv-O-Matic. I mean, this thing is absolutely amazing, and I really do enjoy this. The thing that is really nice about this weapon is its insane fire rate with the recoil comparing. I mean, if you just realize, you can see how fast I'm shooting with a little split break in between each burst, which each burst is about, I would say, 6, so relatively about the same as the M16. But this thing does not have any recoil, and if you can tell right now, I don't even have a grip on. I mean, this thing has really good range, not as good as, say, the others, but hey, it is a 6 burst, and it doesn't have, you know, insane recoil, so understandably why it doesn't have as much range. But overall, going over the stats, I mean, you got a pretty good clip size. I don't have this maximized, and like the others, I didn't as well. But I mean, the overall reload on this thing is actually pretty good. You could have a 2.5 drop mag with this thing, which is pretty good. I mean, it could be a little bit faster if you slap on recoil, but it also can be quicker if you have the salvo mags on, which, you know, everybody basically does. But just for the example, don't take all this gameplay as the weapon itself, because I don't have this thing maxed out or anything like that. The rate of fire on this thing is about 540 RPM, which seems very slow statistically wise, but just playing with the weapon, it feels a lot faster. And I honestly feel like this shoots a little bit faster than the M16, which is the crazy thing. This weapon is a really smooth weapon. I don't know why, but something about this weapon, I just like playing with it. It's just fun. It does a lot of damage, and it maintains with the levels, or the rounds I should say, as you go up and up. The overall damage on this thing is an absolute beast, and the thing I really do enjoy about this the most is just how enjoyable the weapon is and how smooth it is. I know that sounds like kind of just a lame thing, but it's a good weapon, and definitely, if you haven't already, check it out, even if it's number 2 on our list. Now for a number 1 spot, it has got to be the Skull Splitter. This thing, everybody loves it. I mean, I've even had this as my season 4 reloaded best weapons, and this thing always carries through it. Ever since the start of this game's release, this thing has always been on the number 1 list. I just had to do a little uncovering at first. This thing, it is going to be your guy. I mean, this thing always going to be better than everything below this thing, and for some reason they will never nerf it. And honestly, Treyarch, I love you for that. Okay, overall the stats, they're pretty good on this weapon. I mean, this thing, as you can see with the damage right now, just tier 1 pack punch, I'm sure they're cracking out 5,000 damage per bullet with a burst of about 6 damage, not 6 damage, but 6 bullets, which is pretty good overall, which we really do enjoy. I mean, this thing has some pretty good ammo. You can max it out at about 54 in the mag, ultimately punching it to about 108, which is always always good. And another thing about this thing is you could also have a really fast mag like I do now. If you have speed cola with this thing, you can drop it down to about, I would say, what, 1.2 or 1 second, which is always super nice. We always do enjoy that. And the range on this weapon, never gonna be let down with this thing. I mean, I use this thing in Outbreak, and it always kills zombies, even from like hundreds and hundreds of meters away. You could slap on an axle arm sight with this thing and bam, you are good to go. You don't have to worry about range or anything along those lines, which is always nice. We really do enjoy a gun that actually does its job. But gamers, if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, all the cool nonsense. Check out the links in the description. You know how this goes. If you made it far, you deserve a cookie, and I love you. But in that, gamers, I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.
Your hands are cold.